Hello and welcome to your Long Island Weather Outlook. It's 9:30 on January 14th, and the snow squalls were not that impressive. They were mixed with rain, and they weren't that heavy. I'll show you what they looked like on the radar, however. So this is what the radar looked like. You could see it was kind of diffused. It was kind of just spread out. You could see they got the snow squall warnings upstate. You could see there's some heavier snow up there in areas upstate, but we actually had, if we're looking at the P-type radar here, let's get to that P-type radar. You'll see here that we had rain and snow mixed, so it wasn't quite cold enough. If we go to our conditions this afternoon, this is the Arctic front right here. You can see ahead of the Arctic front, man, we made it up into the mid-40s with a gusty southwest wind, and then behind it, mid-30s, so it really wasn't that much of a drop-off. And even in the night, it does not really feel all that cold. It seems like the cold air is just missing us for whatever reason. When you look at the rest of the country, and we'll talk about all of that right now. So right now you're looking at a satellite image, and you'll see here that we did have some clear skies after the clouds cleared out, but there's cirrus from the next system coming in, and that's the reason why we're not getting the cold air is because of the way the jet stream is. We're just not getting the really cold air. Just showing you what the sky looked like today. We had after the Arctic front came through. If I can call it an Arctic front, it really doesn't really feel all that Arctic out there. You can see a little bit of virga with some cumulus, a stratocumulus, or a little bit of virga coming from it, not a whole lot. And then tonight, starry skies. Tonight we're going to have clear skies. Of course, it's not going to do us any good because the clouds roll in tomorrow. But you'll see here, and you can see the starry skies. Very dark in Garden City. I walked down one of the roads there. Oh my gosh, it was kind of scary actually. But at least it gave me a good chance to look at the stars. But anyway, let's go take a look at the weather map right now, and you'll see here we have this frontier a little low along it. That's going to ride along it to our south. Got high pressure over here that's building into the, again, Midwest. That's where all the cold air is. We're going to have to wait a little while before we get into the really cold air. I don't think we're going to see it quite yet. We certainly haven't yet. So if we look at our weather and hazards map here, you'll see here lots of lake effect. Lots of lake effect snows and freezing spray warnings upstate here. You can see winter storm warnings for all the lake effect snow they're getting. And some isolated winter storm warnings in the south. And then look at this deep. It's colder in parts of South Texas than it is here right now. They got freeze warnings in effect. And I'll put the temperatures up here so you can get an idea of how much colder it is there. So it's colder there than it is here. It's crazy how it's colder in Texas than it is here. It's absolutely nuts. Dallas is 12 right now. All right. It's even colder in parts of Mississippi than it is here right now. Memphis, Tennessee is 10 degrees. Meanwhile, we're still at, what are we at? 28. So, yeah, much, much warmer here. Cold air just dove straight south. Didn't really go to us. Went to the Midwest. So, again, if you're in a place like Kansas, you got to deal with some really, really cold weather there. Negative 6 degrees in Topeka and around Kansas City. So, yeah, they're getting into the cold air. You got single digits and even below zero temperatures into North Dakota. Well below zero if you're in Montana. Oh, yeah, how about 26 below? That's pretty cold. So there was some really cold Arctic air. It's just not getting to us because of the part of the reason is the way the jet stream is. We're going to talk about all that, obviously. You can see off to the west here. All right, we got 20s over New Jersey. But let's show you what the day was like at Islip today. 28 degrees. The dew point is down to 5. Let's look at, we're definitely in the, this is heavily modified Arctic air. I guess I'll call it that. But normally when you have an Arctic front pass through, it drops into the teens usually, all right? It doesn't drop into the mid-30s and upper 20s behind the front. Waiting for this to load. Always takes time. Why it doesn't want to load. Maybe it's just not going to load. I don't know. Just doesn't seem to want to load, does it? Well, I wanted to show you what the day was like at Islip, but I guess we'll look at our highs instead while we're waiting. I don't know if we're going to get a look at that. So we'll see. Highs, mid-40s, even upper 40s in Jersey. Quite warm. Very warm. Meanwhile, you can see the 30s in Pennsylvania. We'll pull this out a little bit so you can see how much colder it was. Again, if you were in the Midwest here, here you go. You go out west here. Dallas was only 20 degrees today. That's what their high was. So way colder in Dallas than it is in New York. That's not supposed to happen at all. All right, it's saying that there's an error. All right, well, we'll try it again. Looks like we may not be able to get observation. Obviously, the lows are our current temperatures. We'll try to look at islip one more time. Try it one more time. All right, here we go. All right, so you'll see here we were in the mid 40s, well to the mid 40s so another above normal day with a southwest wind, and then ahead of that, with the snow squall, it looks like there was a gust up to 47. But only light snow reported. It was just very light. It wasn't really very heavy. It wasn't a true snow squall. So it was a little bit of a disappointment. So let's go to our statistics for the day, and we'll go and look at our statistics. So here are our statistics, and you can see islip hit 45 degrees. The normal high is 39, 6 degrees above normal for the day. Central Park, 44, 5 degrees above normal for the day. And, yeah, so it's, still above normal, but we're going to get back to near normal, a little more below normal tomorrow, I guess you could say. So let's go look at the models here, and we'll first start off looking at the North American view in the jet stream. So let's do that. Let's go to 250 MB wind, the jet stream here, and you can see there, that's the issue, is the trough that came down. It went into the west, and it kind of just lifted back up over the east. So it was just enough to cover the west, and we really didn't get into that. And then as we go throughout this week, you can see the flow go zonal. That's going to take that low. That's going to form and basically it's not going to dig, and we're not really going to get much of a snowstorm out of it. But then behind it, there'll be another trough that'll bring in some colder air for Wednesday. This is the 18Z-GFS, and you'll see there's another trough for the weekend, so that'll bring some colder air. But then here we go as we get toward the end of January again. A few weak troughs, but again, the jet stream's looking kind of messy again on the GFS. This is the 18Z run, so I'll just look at the 12Z run because there could be some differences. The 18Z run just has a habit of, not being reliable. So let's look at so there is some cold air. You can see some troughs coming through, but then, we kind of get toward a messed up pattern there toward the end, though it still looks like it's showing a trough at the end, but look at what's trying to come back, the Firehose jet in the Pacific, so that's not good. Let's go look at the European model. We'll compare with the European at 12Z. So here's your 12Z European. So you can see, again, the jets, it's just all in the west. But this one will come through. This one will bring in colder air for Wednesday, and then that lifts out. And then another one comes in for the weekend. But I don't like the way that Pacific jet is looking. Look at how it's raging again, that Pacific jet. All right, and then we get a ridge toward the end of the period, which is going to bring us back to dealing with above normal temperatures, while there's a big trough in the west again. So they're going to be enjoying some nice cold air while we'll be sweating it out, according to the European anyway. Let's go to the upper air and look at the 500. All right, so here's the 500. You see really nice Greenland block bringing the cold air down. And we will get into some more cold air later on in the week, all right? But then as we get toward the end of the period, that's when we start seeing the dreaded ridging. And actually, that cold air in the west probably won't be all that cold because there's notice our connection to the Arctic is broken again, and we've got this crazy ridge again. So yeah, this month is probably still going to be above normal in the east. So let's go to the GFS next. All right, so here's the GFS, and again, we will go to the 12Z GFS because the 18Z is just not terribly reliable. All right, so here's your trough here, and you can see the second one definitely for the weekend. I think that one's going to bring in some more colder air, so we'll get in colder air then. But then after that, boom, we're back warming up again, though. Look at this. Toward the end of the period, it's bringing a really deep trough in. But now we don't have the blocking over Greenland, so we lost the blocking over Greenland. So the blocking's temporary, and then we're back to this again. All right, so let's go to our temperature anomaly chart. I guess we'll go to that. And we'll keep it on the North American view. I think we'll keep it on the North American view here so you get an idea. So here's the, you can see it's all going into the west. That's the problem. It's all just pouring down to the west. And then the second one also straight down to the west again. But then we get a little more of it toward the weekend. And then after that, we got to deal with, being above normal again. And then we'll have to wait toward the end of the month, perhaps, to bring in some more cold air, perhaps, for us. So again, this is the GFS here, all right? So let's go to the European. I'll go to the CONUS view. So you sort of get the idea of what's going on here. So let's go to the CONUS view. CONUS. Oh, man. Sorry. I'm blocking it. All right, so you can see the problem here is that the cold air just dives right into the west. You can see it just dives right into the west. And literally, we don't really get it. And then the second batch we'll get a little more of for the weekend. And then enjoy that, because then after that, look at this. We're going to be above normal again as we get toward. This is the 12Z run. But then toward the end, it looks like it's showing under the cold air mass. We get toward the end. All right, let's look at the European now. And then a little, so you see that little, we'll get a little bit of it on the Wednesday, and then the next one also, the next one for the weekend will hopefully be a little bit larger. Again, there's just not enough cold air to go around for everybody, so who gets it good, and then, it's just got to line up perfectly, and then after that, we're dealing with more above normal crap again. So now that we've done all that, let's go to the surface map, and I'll start with the European. Actually, we'll start with the GFS first. So here's the GFS, and you can see, again, we have this wave that's going to be to the south. It's going to bring us a little bit of light snow on Tuesday, but it's going to be very light. I don't know how much accumulation we're going to see from this. We'll look into it, but it's going to be pretty light. It's just a weak, flat wave. And then after that, high pressure builds in. We get some colder air, and then there's another wave. This one looks a little more promising for the weekend. That could bring us some snow, perhaps Friday night to Saturday. We do have 2 chances for snow here. All right, with this. All right. So I spoke about the temperatures, but now let's talk about snow. All right. So you can see we do have 2 chances for snow here. You can see there. That low right there could give us some snow, and then behind that, get some colder air, really cold air. And that, you can see the way the high is angled, we're going to get in some really bitterly cold air behind that. But then as we get toward the end of the period, here we are back in that ridge position again and dealing with rain again before another low passes by. So let's look at the European now. That was the GFS. That was the 12Z GFS. All right, I will go back to the 18Z. So here is the European here. And here's our very flat, weak wave that's going to be very weak. The second one has a little more potential, so we'll have to see. Certainly will be cold enough Friday night to Saturday. So we do have winter this week. Enjoy it, because, again, as we get toward the end of the month, we're going to suffer with crap again. But we do have chances for snow and cold weather for this week up ahead. So let's go to the back to the GFS, I guess. And we will go and we will look at the this time the 18Z. Let's see what the 18Z is doing. The 18Z is even flatter with that system, so we're probably not going to see much from this first system. The second system might be a little bit better, but you see the 18Z is kind of pushing it a little more east now. It doesn't get going until it's too far away to really give us a decent amount of snow. But it will be cold air behind it. And then here we go again with the rain chances after that. So now that you've seen the general pattern that we're going to be in, let's take a closer look at our local area. And I'll first start with the HRRR model, looking at the 0Z HRRR as far as precipitation goes. Tomorrow, you can see just clouds, though there might be a little bit of light snow in the evening. It's showing a little bit, perhaps a little bit later at night, a little area of light snow. And then here's Tuesday. You can see it's very light, very little precipitation here. It's a very weak low, and therefore probably not even going to see. If I hit total accumulated precip, yeah, we are barely getting anything here. Maybe a quarter of an inch of liquid equivalent or less. And if we look at total snowfall, maybe an inch. Maybe we'll be lucky and get an inch. We'll have to see. But you see it's painting. If you're north and west, you might get as much as 3 or maybe even 4 inches. But it won't be a big snowfall, but it might be enough to make the ground wet. Might is the key word here. All right. This is the HRRR here on this week's system here. All right. So let's look at our dew points and wind flow first of all. So here's our dew points and wind flow, and you can see the dew points are pretty low. We got the westerly winds. Northwest to west-northwest winds staying in that direction. But you notice as we get toward Tuesday, we start seeing the winds shift to the east and then northeast. And here's the problem again. We have that east wind again. That might be a little hard to get snow with an east wind off that warm water. That could be a bit of a challenge. But maybe as it departs, we can get some snow, and then the winds turn northwest, and then we can get into some of this much colder air here. These are dew points, by the way, but it just helps to show you where the Arctic air is. So here's our actual temperatures tonight. We'll drop into the mid-20s, and then tomorrow, it doesn't really have the temperatures going up that much. It only has them staying actually below freezing because of the cloud cover, I think, because we're going to have a lot of cloud cover streaming in. Originally, it was supposed to be a mostly sunny day, but we have the cloud cover streaming ahead of the next system, and then we stay pretty much around 30 degrees right through. Here's Tuesday, staying right around 30 degrees, and then dropping down to the 20s Tuesday night. So if I want to take it a little further, we can look at the GFS, which is what we'll do. So we'll look at the dew points and wind flow on the GFS here. So here's the GFS. There's your storm, and then, again, westerly winds. You can see as we get into Wednesday, then the winds become northwesterly, and that's when we're going to get into some pretty cold air, I think. We're going to get into some pretty cold air there. Again, this is Arctic air. Dew points stay low, westerly winds. Here comes the next system, and you can see we're definitely staying in the cold air, so we shouldn't have to worry about rain. That next system should also be mostly snow. And then behind that, that's when we get into the really, I think this weekend's going to be pretty frigid there. You can see those dew points at 0 or below. That's some really good Arctic air. And if we can get some snow on the ground, that'll help it keep it that much colder. Temperatures, again, Wednesday, once that first storm passes, we're only going to be in the upper 20s to around 30. Same thing for Thursday. Friday, pretty much staying below freezing every day. So this is good. So it's going to be a cold week, even though we're not getting to the bitterly cold air. Well, we will by the weekend. So here's the weekend. And if they're starting off in the teens on Saturday, we're going to struggle to make it out of the mid-20s. And then at night, teens, and if we get radiational cooling, could be much colder than that. And then staying cold on Sunday as well. But then enjoy it, because then here comes the warmth as we get to deal with all that warmth again. Here we go again. Toward the end of the month, they're showing the warmth. But then as we get, again, toward a little bit later, it gets cooler, but not really that cold. So enjoy this week. That's all I got to say. Enjoy this week. We got a week of winter. We may have a week of winter. So let's look at our snowfall totals on the GFS for the first storm. So again, it's only showing like an inch or two, or that's it. But if we throw the second storm in here, and then it goes up. All right. So that's something to keep in mind there. All right. But this is the GFS. Its resolution is pretty low at this point. Let's go to a few more models. NAM 13, NAM 12. I meant. This is the NAM 12 for the first storm, and you'll see here, it's only giving less than an inch for Long Island, but maybe 1 to 2 inches if you're in New Jersey, and if you're north and west, that's when you might see the higher amounts. The NAM is not really. The storm is just not. Doesn't have a lot of moisture. We'll look at the radar simulation here. So here's the radar simulation here on the NAM, and you'll see it actually does bring in some light snow overnight Tuesday. It's be very light, and then look at that. Actually, during the day Tuesday, rain in the afternoon. It changes it over to rain because, again, that easterly wind off those warm waters. Again, we have warm waters. Let's just look at the sea surface. We'll go look at the marine reports here. Show you what I mean here. Let's Go to the marine reports. All right, here they are. So let's get the observation roundup here. So here's the list. Now let's see what our water temperatures are. Yeah, 46, 48 off Block Island, 47. It's way warmer than it's supposed to be. So, and that kind of, if we go to Earth Null School, that kind of backs it up. If we look at the Earth Null School site and look at our SSTs off the northeast, this just doesn't help us getting snow. You can see we're above normal, and look at that, much above normal, well offshore. We're talking about a 10-degree above normal anomaly over here. The water temperature in this area is, look at the actual water temperature, it is 73 degrees. Yikes. That's really warm, and that's only about maybe, 150 miles southeast of Long Island. So you have very, very, very warm water. Should not be that warm at all. I'll pull this to the side here to show you there. It says 73 right there, all right? So if you don't believe me, and again, if we look at those SSTs, you have upper 40s still. That's way warmer than it's supposed to be, and that's not going to help us get snow if we have an easterly wind. That's going to make it hard, so we may still be dealing with rain. If we get a little coating of snow, it might be rain and then wash away, and, the better chance is the weekend storm, I think, right now. So right now, that's just too far. I mean, maybe we got the icon. Maybe the icon goes that far out. We can look at the icon as well. This first storm is just very weak. But the second storm for the weekend, this also looks kind of weak on the icon. So this would actually be Friday. What just happened here? All right, there. That would actually be Friday. So, and again, it's not really showing much on the icon. Well, that storm's a ways away. It's too early to tell with that one. This one, maybe an inch on mainly on grassy surfaces. It's not going to be very much if we get anything, and that's because of that easterly wind. It's a very weak system, and that's what's working against us right now. We'll go to the RGEM as well. We'll look at the RGEM as well for this, and you can see again that snow, very, very light snow breaking out. Though it looks like it gets a little heavier. Then Tuesday, the RGEM's got that low even closer to us, getting us above freezing and having rain on Tuesday for much of the day, lingering around. I hope that RGEM isn't right, because of that's another total accumulated precip. It could give another half inch of rain, which we don't need. Total snowfall, RGEM does give an inch or two, perhaps, but I'm not that impressed. Let's go to the NAM 3. Go to the NAM. This is the NAM 3, by the way. So we'll go to the NAM 3. And we'll look at 2. So this is the radar presentation. Again, it does bring an area of snow overnight Tuesday, and then a little bit of light rain, perhaps. But it's very, very light precipitation, and a lot of that may not even wind up reaching the ground right away. All right. So we'll have to see, but this could give us perhaps an inch or two, and we'll know more tomorrow night, I think, that we could have a light snowfall, but it's not going to meet any winter weather advisory or any criteria for that. But maybe it'll be enough to make the ground white, perhaps, with this storm system here. We'll have to see. But again, we have the wind working against us. That's the issue. So what's the wind at this time that it has it snowing at? What's the wind direction at? It's from the northeast. All right, northeast is better than east, but it still kind of bends east, and we're going to have to watch for that because we all know how that warm water can do. All right, all right. So now we've spoken about the storms. Let's talk about skies. I guess I'll go back to the RGEM, or we'll start with the GFS first. We'll go GFS. So obviously tomorrow we're going to have all these clouds rolling in. Tuesday we'll have clouds. Wednesday we should have a mostly sunny day, hopefully, because after that we're back in the clouds for Thursday, Friday, and then hopefully by Saturday or the weekend we can get rid of the clouds and have mostly sunny and bitterly cold air before things start getting junky again by next week. So let's look at the RGEM for the skies, which I kind of prefer using this one. So you can see the cirrus kind of just going to be rolling right in on us tomorrow. We're not going to really get a nice blue sky tomorrow. Tuesday, obviously, we'll be in the clouds. And Wednesday, we should hopefully have a mostly sunny day across. Well, it's showing some clouds over Long Island, maybe more likely over New Jersey. But it should be a very nice, mostly sunny day on Wednesday. I'm really hoping anyway it will be. So now that we've looked at all these models and tropical tidbits, let's go look at Ventu Sky and visualize things a little bit better here as far as this upcoming storm goes. So this quote-unquote storm, it's not really going to be much of anything. So let's move this over to 11 o'clock Monday night. All right, so you can see we've got light winds from the east. All right, so this is not a great wind setup for snow. Let's go to Tuesday morning at 2 a.m. Still got, all right, the winds are coming a little more northeast. So if they become a little more northeast, your best chance of seeing some snowfall is going to be in the wee hours of Tuesday morning, probably. Because I think as we get toward 11 o'clock, the winds go more northerly at that time. Well, it's over by then, I think. But we could look at snow cover and see what it's generating here for snow cover. It's giving us 1 inch, or 1 to 2 inches of snow, perhaps 1 to 2 inches from this system here. So this system has the potential to give us maybe our first measurable snowfall in like 2 years, perhaps. But we'll have to see. I'm not going to get my hopes up yet. We'll see what the next model runs bring. It's going to be rough with that easterly wind, and we do have the cold air in place, but the model's tending to overdo the cold a little bit. And we're going to have to see what happens here if we can, because, I mean, we thought it would be colder by this time tonight, and it's still in the upper 20s. I thought by now it would be a little colder than that, so. But hopefully we'll have a better idea tomorrow night what's going to happen. It's still one of these borderline events that's going to make it a little tough for us to, because, it all depends on how much reaches, what the dew points are at the ground level, how much humidity you have. So if we can go here, humidity, it's saying it is at 100%. So, all right, so if we can get the air saturated, then we can get the snow to reach the ground. So our first possible snowfall perhaps for tomorrow, late tomorrow night, and maybe we can actually pick up an inch or two, perhaps, to give us our first measurable snowfall that we have seen in quite some time. I don't know why the snow cover just disappeared like that. All right, there it is. I don't know where it went away, but you can see. So we'll have to see what happens with this. Obviously, if you're upstate, you'll see more mountains. You'll see more. There should be enough cold air here for the snow. But it all depends on that wind direction and what the winds are going to be. That's the challenge right now that we have. So you can see we have a northeast wind, which will help if it's a northerly component. But if it turns out to be more easterly, that's going to make it a little rough. Like I said, I think the best chances for the snow are going to be later. So if we look at our precipitation here, you'll see be later as we get to our 4 in the morning, 1 in the morning. All right, let's get something around 1 in the morning. But we'll have to see what happens here. The models, that's the HRRR, which is a little more bullish than the NAM, which usually you don't see that often. You don't see the HRRR being more bullish than the NAM, but we are seeing the HRRR being more bullish than the NAM at this point. Let's go to windy.com, which we can find another way to visualize the NAM here. And obviously, we look at the clouds. You'll see the clouds will be rolling right at us. Well, actually, this actually seems to want to keep them to the south. This model. This is interesting. Europe kind of wants to keep them off to the south. I'm not buying that. Euro's going with more of a suppressed look, I'm guessing. Let's see what the Euro does with the snow. Kind of curious. Snowfall. Precipitation. New snow. Let's see what it's showing. Next 3 days. Euro's in line with the HRRR here, giving us the perhaps as much as 3 inches next 24 hours. Actually shows something for the next 24 hours. Leave it on that, 0.3 inches. But let's go to the NAM. Here's the NAM. All right, the NAM seems to give it the 2.4 as well. We'll have to see. This is a weak system. as far as the models are generating this much from this weak system. It just doesn't look very impressive, you know. But it doesn't. It's not going to have a. It's not going to be a very deep low. It's just going to be a very weak type of system that's going to move on through. But it does do something at least. I guess you could say. GFS. Let's see what GFS does. We have an agreement on a 1 to 2 inch event, so light snowfall, perhaps the first. That we'll see. Perhaps the first. Perhaps. I can only hope. So we'll have a better idea tomorrow night what's going to happen as it starts. So again, I mean, I don't want. This is the way it is. We got to make a big deal out of an inch or two because we haven't had an inch or two of snow in Central Park in almost 2 years, and in a lot of other areas too. So we'll have to see. Maybe we can actually make it happen with this storm. We will have to see what happens. But right now, we are a ways away from that storm, and we'll go to the radar here. You'll see this is the storm right here. So you can see it's pretty flat looking. All right, pretty flat looking. But it's going to take this storm, I think, to possibly give, give us a little bit of snow, as well as getting into some much colder air, because right now it doesn't really feel like Arctic air out there. So let's hope we can get some of that snow. And let's go to the Climate Prediction Center last, because here are your 6 to 10 day outlooks. You have us below normal here. You can see the west is above normal. Below normal precipitation in the east, but look at what happens when we go to the 8 to 14 day. Here we go again with being above normal in the whole country. So that's why I say enjoy this. A little bit of winter here with a little bit of cold weather and snow. Maybe this may be all we got. Hopefully not. I guess I could go to tropical tidbits if you want to look at the polar vortex. I guess we can do that for one last thing. We'll go northern hemisphere. We'll go to the GFS and the 10. All right, so we can see we have that split that's going on right now, but then I think it tightens back up again. Yep, it tightens back up, and here's the problem. Once we get back to the 30th, here we go. We're back to dealing with the wrapped-up polar vortex and no Arctic air in North America. So, yeah, enjoy this little bit of winter while we got it. We don't know if it'll be back again this year. So, that's all. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.